Hi everyone, dear colleagues and Lynn. Today we're happy to present you our topic, Repatriation, challenges for employees returning from international assignments and the solutions employer can provide. Enjoy!
All my bags are packed, ready to go. I'm standing here outside your door. I hate to wake you up to say goodbye.
The word repatriation comes from a Latin word repatriare, meaning to restore or return to country of origin or citizenship. In our presentation, we define repatriation as process of re-entry the individual's home country after living abroad for a significant period of time. The term repatriation is inextricably linked to the term expatriation, where expatriation is the beginning of the international assignment and repatriation is its closure. Robert E. Scott, president of Expat Repat Services in Texas, developed a theory called inbound repatriate cultural adjustment. Author identified four stages typically experienced by repatriates. The first stage is unaware stranger. Repatriates usually expect for things to remain the same when they lived and don't perceive themselves as strangers in their home country. Cognizant stranger. It usually doesn't take long for them to become acutely aware that they are strangers in their culture of origin. Deliberately at home. Cultural adjustment to one's home culture at re-entry is often more demanding than adjusting to host culture. Instinctively at home. Feeling at ease as a repatriate doesn't occur automatically in the same way that one does not adjust immediately to a new culture in a host country.
Employers' concerns. According to a survey, the estimated cost of losing a key employee is $1.2 million. It was also found that 10% of returning expatriates left the company within 6 months and 50% of employees left the company within a few years. Extensive direct costs are incurred when firms must replace departing executives who possess valuable international and corporate experience. Substantial indirect costs also occur when repatriates withdraw crucial market knowledge, host country client relationships, and international skills upon their departure to other employers, who are often gaining a competitive advantage from their new staff members. Poor repatriation can also result in a loss of high potential employees, employee underutilization, and subsequent employee reluctance to accept overseas positions. Hence, employers are more concerned about retaining employees with global insight and experience. Employees' concern. The employees' concern includes their expectations, work-related changes, and socio-cultural changes. Repatriates' expectations. The most common expectations the repatriates have are: workplace will be the same. My organization will value my new skills, knowledge, and experience. I expect some form of promotion on returning home. My close friendships will pick up where they left off. Everything is easier, cleaner, better organized, safer at home. I will be better off financially when I return home. Everything will be basically the same when I left. These expectations are developed long before they come back home, during their international assignments, and sometimes even before them leaving for the assignment. If these expectations are met, the employee's effectiveness and job commitment increases. The turnover rate decreases and the company saves the cost of losing a key employee. Work-related changes. Many things have changed during the employee's stay abroad, and that does not exclude the environment of their work. Changes in workforce. There is a possibility that some of the colleagues and managers have been fired, have retired, or moved to another department. They can be the one responsible for fulfilling all the promises that were guaranteed. Boredoms of previous job. The repatriates feel bored by their previous job as performing same tasks makes it monotonous. Loss of the authority status control. They lose the authority status and control offered by their international assignment, as they are now no more working on that. having a job available. The main concern of repatriates is whether there will be a job available for them according to their skills and expectation. Socio-cultural changes. The repatriates and their families have to deal with all the problems connected with housing, work for the spouse, and schooling for the children. Sometimes the employee feel alienated as their family and friends back home have changed during their stay abroad.
Theories of effective repatriation. There are two effective repatriation. There are repatriate programs and proactive programs. Repatriate programs include two classical repatriate models and one alternative repatriation model. 1. Model of effective repatriation. 2. Successful repatriation and retention program. 3. Alternative repatriation model. The first two classical models are still considered the most important staffing system. 1. Model of effective repatriation. This model attempts to improve the retention rate of repatriates for the organization and employees, which gives them greater feeling of belonging, satisfaction, lower uncertainty, and anxiety. The model is divided into three parts: A. Prior to departure, B. During their stay, C. Upon their return. Basically, this model significantly reduces anxiety, greater feeling of cohesion, and improved retention of repatriates. 2. Successful repatriation and retention. This program includes 4 phases based on the experiences of many multinational corporations like AT&T, Honeywell, GTE, 3M, Ford, etc. Martin suggested that there are 4 phases to the repatriation and retention process. Phase 1 deals with prior to expatriation, developing and maintaining a formal repatriation program, senior management participation, defining career expectation, etc. Phase 2 deals with during repatriation, adjusting to overseas environment, keeping up with changing organization priorities, etc. Phase 3 deals with before repatriation, creating expectation, counseling and reorientation, career planning, etc. Phase 4 deals with repatriation, reverse cultural shock, managing expectation, welcome home, valuing international experience, role of mentorship, etc. Each phase of this process can be aided by proper organizational planning and support. Alternative repatriation model. This puts reduced reliance on the above two classical models. Some companies make use of this alternative model of local recruiting, hiring of third-party nationals, flexible short-time assignment, etc. The alternative repatriation model is less costly to the firm and also less destructive to the employees and work life, as well as reduce long-term aspiration for many organizations. The major advantage of this transfer of managerial position to local is to lower cost. In addition to saving the relocation expenses for expatriates, the compensation packages for locals are much lower than those of expatriates. Proactive programs. Proactive programs include 4 theories. 1. Expectation theory. 2. Re-entry system theory. 3. Equity theory. 4. W-curve theory. They are called proactive programs because they have been examined and successfully utilized by many organizations. 1. Expectation theory. According to Martin, expectation theory addresses the effectiveness of open and communication and honest communication with the employees, which include job they expect on return to the home office, as well as the psychological and financial transition. This expectance valued model suggests that the assigned employees have expectation about their return to the home office. That is, the employees' dissatisfaction upon return to their home countries. It further explains that fulfilled expectation lead to positive evaluation of the repatriation experience, whereas unfulfilled expectation lead to negative evaluation and poor readjustment. Therefore, it is better to over-prepare the employee and set up realistic expectations such as pre-departure training, a realistic job preview, and bringing employee expectation in line with company perspective. Re-entry system theory. Martin explains that re-entry system theory concentrates on the importance of communication and contact with the employees before, during, and after the assignment. Communication allows the expatriate to feel a close bond with headquarters regardless of geographical distance. It is important for the organization to incorporate expatriate section in the communication channel, such as through the intranet. Equity theory. According to Robin, equity theory ties closely with expectation and re-entry system theories. It relates to employee motivation and commitment to the company. Equity theory helps to explain the degree of commitment that returning employees give to the company. If the employees perceive that the company is not treating them fairly in light of their international experience, they tend to feel less committed and are willing to leave the company to work for another. Robin suggested that company managers should highlighten the perception of fairness by openly sharing information on how decisions are made and following consistent and unbiased procedures. W-curve theory. According to Martin, W-curve theory describes the re-entry adjustment, often called reverse culture shock. It emphasizes the common process of initial euphoria, irritation, and hostility, which cultural differences, adjustments, and re-entry to the home country. The W curve is always two U curves. The first U curve occurs when the employee enters the new country for the international assignment. The second U curve occurs upon return to the home country. The pattern is the same. The reverse culture shock on return is intensified because the employee does not anticipate company, community, and cultural changes during the absence.
As was just mentioned, there are several theories and approaches to successful repatriation. Here we will look closer at the second classical approach, which is the successful repatriation retention program. This program is based on the experiences of many multinational corporations, like Royal Dutch Shell, Intel, Ford, and more, and it suggests that there are 4 phases to the repatriation retention process. The first phase occurs prior to expatriation because it includes repatriation planning steps such as building internal support within the organization and expatriate career planning, including developing and maintaining a formal repatriation program, senior management participation, defining career expectations, and more. Phase 2 deals with during expatriation. The second phase occurs while the expatriate is still abroad. This phase is focused on establishing lines of communication with headquarters and helping the expatriate avoid being in the out-of-sight, out-of-mind position, which is a fear that the period overseas would cause a loss of visibility and isolation. Phase 3 deals with just before repatriation. The third phase of the process occurs just prior to repatriation and involves support and preparation for the expatriate's return. This step is crucial because it ensures that proper expectations are developed and career planning is explored. Phase 4 deals with repatriation itself. The final phase addresses the repatriation adjustment, homecoming orientation, mentorship, and adding valid experience and acquired skills to the organization's arsenal. Planning for repatriation as this process can create a more productive and successful repatriation for most expatriates. Each phase of the process can be aided by proper organizational planning and support.
Now we're going to speak a little about organizational practices which companies utilize when dealing with repatriates. According to the recent survey, the majority of the companies didn't offer the return incentive payments, didn't provide any re-entry training for repatriates, but they provided shipments of goods and relocation benefits. 87% offered the expatriates a mutually acceptable position, 40% promoted more than half of their repatriates, and 35% gave them high responsibility without promotion. Moreover, generally, all companies were assigned their return expatriates to a comparable or mutually acceptable position. Overall, the results indicated that the majority of companies provided no separate organizational unit for their repatriates, no facilitator to identify expatriate new knowledge, no event to welcome expatriate and family home, no post-assignment interview, and no career counseling workshop for expatriate and family. A majority of the companies admitted to the occasional use of mentorship program, relocation benefits, and the utilization of repatriates as trainers. However, the positive note is that most companies did provide the shipment of personal goods and HR service to support the career tracking of the expatriates.
In order to minimize the difficulty in repatriation, adjustment, and detachment from the home organization, employers can utilize various practices and methods, including pre-departure briefings on what to expect during repatriation. Also, making the overseas assignments shorter using job swaps can overcome some negative consequences brought about by traditional long-term assignments. In job swaps, a person from the home country and someone from the international affiliate switch jobs for a period. To make housing simpler, sometimes they can even switch homes. Next, to identify the kind and degree of personal change that has taken place, a re-entry assessment and career planning process near the end of the expatriation term is recommended, as well as designing a pre-expatriation succession plan and the return strategy planned jointly by the company and the employee. Companies must be willing to make their repatriation career choices flexible and use the re-entry assessment as the basis for the next assignment. Also, companies can straighten the perceived link with the home organization and increase the perceived cost of leaving the company by actively providing developmental support, for example, mentoring, coaching, counseling, to the employee, spouse, and family during the expatriation, repatriation phases. Next, communication frequencies and intensities should be increased through such vehicles as home visits, together with company-sponsored networking activities and regular company newsletters. Reorientation about the changes in the company and mentoring programs during and after the assignment should be provided, as well as financial counseling and financial and tax assistance. Lastly, only 11% of American HR executives had themselves lived or worked in a foreign country. Due to the importance of organizational support to repatriation success, it is important to make sure that this support is appropriate and adequate, which often turned out not to be so. One underlying reason is that the HR personnel are ill-prepared for the intensified globalization trend and fail to develop necessary competencies to manage global business people. Thus, the companies need to make sure that the HR executives who are responsible for international moves have international assignment experiences themselves. Studies demonstrate that despite the fact that these practices were considered very important by expatriates, they were shown to be available in only 10 to 50% of the multinational corporations under research.
Conclusion. Repatriation has its own set of challenges and has been identified as the most difficult phase of the international assignment. Therefore, in order to retain repatriates and maintain negative consequences of the relocations, companies have to implement and maintain permanently described best practices.